Hello everybody and welcome back, and thank you for joining me for this video today. I think this might be the most important video that I've made yet, so I'm really glad that you're here with me and you're going to be participating on this journey with me. So let's get started. I just want to start this video with two things. Firstly, I'd like to share a trigger warning. This video is intended for other white people who are looking to begin their journey to anti-racism, and therefore, because this is quite deep shadow work, some of the things I may share, which are my own perspective, may trigger you or may make you feel uncomfortable or may bring up something, which is what triggering is, that you realize you need to heal for yourself. So if this video does that for you, then I invite you to take a moment and sit with it, recognize what it truly is, what it triggered within you, and look at how you can potentially heal and release that trigger so that you can move forwards in your journey. And secondly, you may not agree with everything that I am saying. If you don't, then thank you so much for watching this video. However, I am looking to create a space of unity. So if you feel you can share your differing opinion in a loving, unifying way with me, then I am very open and receptive to hearing that. But if you're coming from a space of separation, then I ask you just to sit with that until you're in a space of unity and can then share your feelings and opinions in a loving way. Battery's gonna go. Okay, let's try that again. And the second thing that I invite you to join me with is a very short breathing exercise to bring us into our heart space so that we can be open and receptive to receiving each other's messages, perspectives, insights, and journeys at this time. I have seen a lot of separation and hate on social media, with white people attacking white people tone policing black people, and I would really like this to be a time for us unifying as opposed to separating further. So I actually would like to invite you to just close your eyes with me for a moment. And just taking a deep breath in, breathing deep into your belly. Exhaling fully through the mouth. And taking another deep breath in. Exhaling slowly and fully through the mouth. And as you take this third deep breath in, set the intention to drop your awareness into your heart center and open your heart to being receptive and to communicating from this space today. And as you exhale, releasing any tension, any stress, any fears, knowing that you can always return to this space any time that you need, coming back into yourself. And recognizing that even though we are all one, we each have a part to play in healing this shadow work. And remaining open and receptive to supporting and listening to other people on this journey. Doing all that you can to support one another at this time. And I'd like to invite you to keep your eyes closed and join me in 1 minute silence for every single Black person who's lost their lives this year. Due to racism. I'd like to focus my reflections on George Floyd and his family at this time. And when you're ready, taking another deep breath in and opening your eyes as you come back into this space. So thank you for joining me for that. So I'd like this video to be centered around advice and tips and guidance for white people and what they can do at this time to support and create the dismantle of white supremacy and systematic racism. So I will be sharing things that I have learnt, and I will also be in the future sharing further videos with further resources I have found to be useful and have educated me in what I can do and how I can act and be an anti-racist ally for Black people and the Black Lives Matter campaign. I may be making mistakes along my journey. I may word things incorrectly. I may get some things wrong in my journey, and so may you if you're a fellow white person watching this. However, we can learn from our mistakes. This work isn't about being instantly gratifying, and I think that's something that society actually teaches us, and I don't use that as an excuse, but you may find that you expect things to change overnight. You're going to read a book and suddenly be an anti-racist person. That's not how it works, and especially with something that has been suppressed and repressed for over 400 years, it is going to take a while to do this work. So I just want to remind you of that. Please don't put any pressure on yourself to have all the answers within a day, and also be aware that it's an ongoing process. And so you may find that right now you're taking in loads, you're absorbing loads, learning loads, and then you might be exhausted from it because we're not used to doing this kind of work as white people on a collective scale. And it is a very heavy shadow to be working through, but it's also very necessary. And if you're doing this work, it's because you chose to be alive at this time to do your part to help. So please know that you do have the capability and all of the tools and the strength that you need to do this work, even if you are an empath or an introverted person. And I am both of those things. So if you feel the same as me and you feel overwhelmed at times, then please do make sure that self-care is something that you're really working on, because we need you to be as healthy and whole as possible in order to help dismantle systematic racism. I think society teaches us that we will go to college or university, we'll get a degree, and instantly we will be employed in the job of our dreams and everything will be rosy. But it rarely happens like that. We often instead go through college or university, come out the other side, and rarely people are waiting there to offer us our dream job. And instead we might end up in a completely different line of work, completely different industry, and really be fighting towards our dream. Now maybe a new dream will come along, maybe not. However, this is a form of instant gratification where we just expect things to be perfect and rosy out of nowhere, and it rarely happens like that. I don't say that to disappoint you, I just say that to make you aware that actually as a white person this is an ongoing thing. It is an ongoing thing we need to work through. We have created these systems and it's our responsibility to knock them down and create new ones that are more inclusive equitable and equal. The Black Lives Matter campaign is actually bringing up a lot of repressed and suppressed shadow work for white people to do, and I think this is really powerful and really important, and I am definitely somebody who is committed to doing my part and using my white privilege for good. However, when you're working with the shadow, of course it's going to be intense. Even though we refer to light workers, this is a really deep, intense thing that has been repressed for a very long time, and therefore when we bring up the shadow, it's going to be ugly, it's going to be difficult, we are going to make mistakes, and I just want you to keep that in your mind as you're doing this work, that it's ongoing, it isn't going to be easy, and it does require actual, because the thing is, even though we may be light workers, we don't need to heal the light, we need to heal and integrate and accept the shadow, and then we can shine and be the light. There's a huge difference, and that's the definition that we're looking for. No matter how that shows up, the fact that you're taking steps and action towards this is fantastic, and I'm really excited to be on this journey with you, whether our paths cross or not. I bless you, and may your path be fruitful and abundant. The most important thing to remember as a white person doing anti-racist work is that it's not about you specifically, unless you have, of course, said a racial slur or acted in a racist way in the past. This is about deep ancestral healing. Now, this may be directly one of your ancestors, or it may just be because you're a white person and it is white supremacy and systematic racism that we're looking to dismantle. So try not to take things too personally. Recognize that it's not about you, it's very much about dismantling a system. And this is where using your white privilege for good comes in. You can use your white privilege to access jobs or to have your voice heard, to create change within the system. Now, this could be looking to lobby for changes in the law, it could be protesting, it could be signing petitions, it could be getting a job as a CEO and employing more black people and making sure that wages are fairer, and really listening to both the black and white employees that you have. I don't have all the answers right now, but these are just some suggestions of how we can use our white privilege for good. Another way, and you will have seen this in the recent protests, is we can physically be the barrier for protecting black people against police brutality, for example. Again, these are just examples. You might have a better idea of how you can use your white privilege. And if you do have a great suggestion, please do put it in the comments below, because I would love to know how I can be more of help in anti-racist work. So I just want to share some tips and things that I have learnt that you may find useful. Firstly, if you have black friends, then do not go to them and ask them what you can do. This is your responsibility as a white person. White people created this system. White people need to do the work and the research for themselves to help dismantle it. That is how we can use our white privilege. By all means, check in with your black friends. See how they are, but don't overwhelm them, and don't dump all of your problems on them, and don't spend time saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the other to help. In fact, instead, the best thing that you can do is actually demonstrate how you're helping, and be sharing your voice on social media to share what books you've been reading, what protests that you've been to, what charities or movements you've donated to, how you've been supporting black business owners. So instead, this is a time for deep listening to our black friends and totally holding space and allowing them to completely share how they're feeling when they choose to and when they are ready to. We cannot force somebody else to be ready to share or to talk or to express. Instead, we can just be ready to deeply listen and really take it on board. And yes, it might be uncomfortable. Yes, you may feel guilt and shame, but it's not about you. Please remember that. Your white fragility will come up, and I'm going to share what these terms mean and where I got them from later on in the video. One thing that you can do as a white person is donate. You can donate to charities or movements or individuals, but I do want to make something very clear. Whilst it is very commendable to be donating your money to help a cause, it's also important that you are doing the inner work on yourself as well. Otherwise, the system will not change. I tend to think of the saying, you can give a man a fish and he can feed his family for a day, or you can teach a man to fish and he can feed his family for a lifetime. And that's very true with donating to charities. By all means, you can give someone money, but if you just throw money at a situation, it doesn't change anything. and it certainly doesn't dismantle the system. So please do give to charities and movements, but make sure that you're actually doing more work for yourself internally, but also supporting Black business owners, hiring Black people on equal pay or more within companies that you work for or your own business. If it is safe for you to do so, then please take part in demonstrations and protests and show your support in a physical way. The reason I say if it's safe for you to do so is I mean if you are completely able-bodied, and because of the current COVID-19 outbreak, only if your health allows you to leave the house and you will be safe to do so. Another thing that we can do as white people is boycott systems and companies who are built on white supremacy. And instead of going to these large conglomerates, we can actually go to the person who's created something to support them. So many companies get so much money and they are not necessarily the most ethical and anti-racist companies out there, shall we say. So do look at the companies that you're buying from and see if perhaps you could boycott them and help create change that way. Another thing that you can do is research political leaders in your area who are anti-racist and vote for them, go to their rallies, share their message. However, if you cannot find a political candidate in your area who is anti-racist, and I mean genuinely anti-racist, then maybe you need to be putting yourself forwards, or somebody you know who is genuinely anti-racist, to step forth and become that political leader. I know it sounds crazy, but guess what? You can do this. You have white privilege. You can do this. If you feel passionately enough about creating equality and equity within society, then nothing should stop you. So I believe in you. I sound like I'm saying a political slogan already. I believe in you, but I really mean it. You know, it's going to take us to actually do these things. Another thing you can do is buy from Black business owners and employ Black people within your company. Now, please do not use that as an opportunity to employ somebody purely to be the token Black person within your company. That's not what this is about. This is about equity and equality and about using your white privilege for genuine good. So buying from Black business owners is a fantastic way to support Black people. And I would love for you to share in the comments any Black businesses that you particularly enjoy buying from or connecting with, or even if you haven't bought from them but you would like to share their voice and their business anyway, I would love to see those in the comments. I'm especially looking for companies in the UK because that's where I'm based, so I'd love to support local Black businesses. So if you know of any, please let me know. I'm going to go away and do my own research, and I will edit the description as I find out more and more. And then when it comes to doing the inner work, this is so important, and this is the bit that's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to bring up feelings of guilt, of shame, and I just again want to remind you, take time for self-care. Don't overwhelm and overload yourself. Do this as and when you can. There isn't any rush, but it is urgent that we do this within our generation if we can, because it's going to help future generations and hopefully really start to dismantle this white supremacy and this systematic racism. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is reading an article which is a speech given by Willie Lynch. In America, he was a British slave owner, and I believe he owned a plantation with slaves, and there's some discrepancy about whether it was actually this person who gave this talk or not, but actually I invite you to read this as a white person to educate yourself. But this isn't an easy thing to read, but it's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be bringing up these feelings so that we can firstly heal them and then secondly do something about it. Quite often something that triggers us ends up being a catalyst for us to create change. So I will see if I can put a link to this article in the description box, because as harrowing and abhorrent as it is to read, it's really necessary to understand that there was a school of thought to break the spirit of Black people so that they did not unite with one another, they did not protest or fight back. And it really deeply upsets me to think that white people thought like that and created this ideology. And again, that's something that I'm working on. However, I would also say that reading this article made me realize that soul retrieval would be very potent and important for what happened due to this article. I am trained in hypnotherapy, and I am trained in soul retrieval. However, as a white person, I feel I do not have the right to offer this to black people en masse. I would love to, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels very much like white superiority and white savior complex. So instead, if you know of a black practitioner who is trained in hypnotherapy and or soul retrieval, please also put them in the comments, because I would love to be able to promote their work, because I think soul retrieval is going to be really important in claiming power back. The next resource I'm going to recommend is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F Saad. Now, you may have heard of this book already, and if you don't have it, then I really recommend it. This has been incredible. I'm only on day 5 of the book, and I have learnt so much already, and I'm very grateful to Layla for creating such a resource, because unfortunately we're at a time where we need books like this, and hopefully in the future books like this will not need to exist because we will have done the work. However, for the time being they do. I really recommend this. I will put a link to Layla's website in the description box below. Ironically, I became aware of this book a couple of months ago. I've always been interested in activist work and anti-racism. However, I've just always felt as though I don't have the knowledge, nor did I really feel like I had a right to speak about racism, since I have no experience of it. However, what I'm learning from this movement and the past couple of weeks is that actually being silent is being complicit, and therefore I need to speak up. So I need to educate myself. And I went to buy this book, and it had ironically sold out on the website I was searching on. And so what I did was I got it as an audiobook, and I'm really glad that I got it as an audiobook, because it's made me take notes, and therefore I'm really taking it in. So what Layla did is a 28-day challenge to break down white supremacy and white privilege on her Instagram, and then she created a downloadable workbook which was downloaded by over 100,000 people, and then she created this book. So I'm really grateful that I'm actually able to do this as an audiobook, because I'm learning so much. And one thing I've learned is I have white fragility, which is when you become defensive and you are overly upset at something because you take it as a personal thing, rather than just understanding that actually you are complicit in a system that is white supremacy. I'm also learning about white silence and tone policing, which is essentially used by people with white privilege when they want to silence or quiet somebody who does not have white privilege. So this book is already invaluable to me, and I'm really grateful that it has given me an opportunity to start doing the work. So I highly recommend that you get into that. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm not saying you're going to feel fantastic about yourself, but I am saying that you will feel better for doing the work, because you will know how to use your white privilege for good. And I will put a couple of other books and films I recommend in the description box as well. And the last thing I'd like to say is come from a space of love. Please recognize that you, myself, and other white people may make mistakes along the way. So please be forgiving and understanding. The last thing that we need is more separation and to be calling each other out and causing rifts. That is literally the last thing that we need. What we need to be doing is uniting. This work is going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to bring up a lot of shadow and a lot of difficult emotions. So I just invite you to really hold that space for other people, and to come from that space where you can be supportive, understanding, and just witness as this happens and do your part. Thank you so much for watching this video and for being here with me today. And I look forward to sharing future videos with you all around anti-racist work. And if you have any resources that you can recommend in the comments, please do, as I would love to expand my learning and really be of service. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in next week's video.